A very good evening to all of you. Here we are again with the textbook Nature Matters, Readings on Life and in Nature. Today we will discuss the question and answers from the chapter Biodiversity. So when you open the textbook at page number 39, you can see the comprehension question. Short answer question. The first one is, define biodiversity. Answer. A biodiversity is the variety and the variability of life on Earth. Biodiversity is typically a measure of variation at the genetic, species, and ecosystem level. The term biological diversity was coined by Walter J. Rosen in the year 1985. Now moving on to the second question, that is, what are the three levels of biological diversity? Answer. Biodiversity is usually explored at three levels: genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. These three levels work together to create the complexity of life on Earth. Now the third question, define genetic diversity. Genetic diversity is the total number of genetic characteristics in the genetic makeup of a species. Diversity on a genetic level is a reflection of the similarities and differences in the genes of individuals. Now moving on to the fourth question. What is species diversity? Give examples. Answer. Species diversity is the number of different species that are represented in a given community. For example, the presence of 4 or 5 different species of trees in a woodland forest, or perhaps 100 different species of fish in a water body. Now the fifth question, that is, what is gene pool? Answer. The gene pool is the set of all genes or genetic information in any population, usually of a particular species. The Russian geneticist Alexander Sergeyevich Serbronsky first formulated the concept in the 1920s. Now the sixth question. Define greenhouse effect. Answer. The greenhouse effect is a natural process that warms and the Earth's surface. When the sun's energy reaches the Earth's atmosphere, some of it is reflected back to space and the rest is absorbed and re-radiated by greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, etc. Now the seventh question. What is ecosystem diversity? Answer. Ecosystem diversity is a type of biodiversity. It is the variation in the ecosystems found in a region or the variation in ecosystems over the whole planet. Ecological diversity is the largest scale of biodiversity, and within each ecosystem there is a great deal of both species and a genetic diversity. Now the eighth question. What do plants offer us? Answer. Plants provide us with the food, shelter, medicine and fuel. The basic food for all organisms is produced by green plants. In the process of food production, oxygen is released. This oxygen, which we obtain from the air we breathe, is essential to life. Now moving on to the ninth question, that is, how many biogeographical regions are there in India? Answer. Biogeography is the study of the distribution of species, organisms and ecosystems in a geographic space and through geological time. There are 10 biogeographic zones in India. Example, the Thar Desert of Rajasthan, the Western Ghats, etc. Now the last question, the 10th question. What are some of the important services offered by ecosystems? Answer. The ecosystem services are grouped into four broad categories. Provisioning, such as the production of food and water; regulating, such as the control of climate and disease; supporting, such as nutrient cycles and oxygen production; and cultural, such as spiritual and recreational benefits. Now let's move on to the discussion of the paragraph and essay questions. So as I usually remind you, I will tell you that almost all the paragraph questions, I mean except one, are included within the essay itself. So four paragraph questions I include within the essay itself, and one paragraph question I will discuss separately. Let's read the essay questions. Write an essay on the process of evolution of life on Earth. The second essay question is, how is the preservation of biodiversity linked to survival of mankind? Third essay question, comment on the importance of genetic diversity with an example. So now note the idea. The second paragraph of the essay is the answer of paragraph question number 2 from the textbook. The third paragraph of the essay is the answer of paragraph question numbers 3 and 4 from the textbook. The fourth paragraph of the essay is the answer of paragraph question number 5 from the textbook. So let's begin from the introduction paragraph. The famous American biologist, naturalist, and writer E.O. Wilson once said, "This is the assembly of life that it took 1,000,000,000 years to evolve. It has eaten the storms, folded them into its genes, and created the world that it created us. It holds the world's theory." സോ ഇവിടെ ഈ ലൈൻസിൽ പറയുന്നത് എന്താണ് ബയോഡൈവേഴ്സിറ്റി ആണ് നമ്മളെ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത് എന്നുള്ള ഐഡിയ ആണ്. Biodiversity is the variety and variability of life on Earth. Biodiversity is typically a measure of variation at the genetic, species, and ecosystem level. The term biological diversity was coined by Walter J. Rosen in the year 1985. Our ecosystem involves complex interlocking of individual species which have evolved over millions of years. The loss of any species has a significant impact on the remaining species. There is a danger of collapse of the ecosystem, with some key species being lost. Biodiversity is extremely important to maintain the ecological system. Biodiversity in flora and fauna is the need of the hour. Now we will move on to the second paragraph of the essay. As I said, the second paragraph of the essay is the answer of paragraph question number 2 from the textbook. Paragraph question number 2 is, describe the origin of life on Earth. So the answer is, the origin of life is one of the greatest mysteries in the universe. Life on Earth began more than 3 billion years ago, evolving from the most basic of microbes into a dazzling array of complexity over time. Earth is estimated to be about 4.5 billion years old, and for much of their history, it has been home to life in one weird form or another. Indeed, some scientists think life appeared the moment our planet's environment was stable enough to support it. Although scientists cannot directly address how life on Earth arose, they can formulate and test hypotheses about natural processes that could account for various intermediate steps consistent with the geological evidence. Estimates of the time at which life arose on Earth make use of two types of evidence. First, Astrophysical and geophysical studies provide a time scale for the formation of Earth and the Moon, for large impact events on early Earth, and for the cooling of the early magma ocean. Life was probably initiated as a product of organic reactions in Earth's primordial seas. Geologists have discovered 1.43 billion years old fossils of deep sea microbes, providing more evidence that life may have originated on the bottom of this ocean. Alternative possibilities, such as life beginning in muddy ooze, have also been suggested. Some scientists say that life originated from outer space. Once life took hold on the planet, it began gradually to diversify. Unicellular, unspecialized forms gradually evolved into complex multicellular plants and animals. Evolution is related to the ability of living organisms to adapt to changes in their environment. Thus, the abiotic changes in nature, climate, and atmosphere upheavals, repeated glaciations, continental drifts, and the formation of geographical barriers segregated different communities of plants and animals and gradually led to the formation of new species over millions of years. The evidence is overwhelming that all life on Earth has evolved from common ancestors in an unbroken chain since its origin. The origin of life on Earth is a set of paradoxes. Today, the question of how chemistry on the infant Earth gave rise to RNA and to RNA-based cells is the central question of origin of life research. Some scientists think that life originally used simpler molecules and only later evolved RNA. Other researchers, however, are tackling the origin of RNA head-on, and exciting new ideas are revolutionizing this once quiet backwater of chemical research. So we can say that the origin of life is a mystery like the ultimate chicken and egg conundrum. Now we will move on to the third paragraph of the essay. The third paragraph of the essay is the answer of paragraph question number 3 and 4 from the textbook. Paragraph question number 3 is enumerate the values of biodiversity. Paragraph question number 4 is what is the importance of biodiversity in the ecological process? Answer. Human may not understand well the influence of biodiversity to the entire human race and global ecosystems. Humans obtain many resources from biodiversity such as food, timber, raw materials of medicine and souvenir. In addition of those basic provisions, the biodiversity play the important roles of maintaining the ecosystem of the world. It provides the important services such as cleaning water resources, protection of soil, reduction of global diseases, and dedication of maintaining the stability of climate. Biodiversity also contributes social benefits to us like tourism and entertainment development. At least 40% of the world's economy and 80% of the need of the poor are derived from biological resources. In addition, the richer the diversity of life, the greater the opportunity for medical discoveries, economic development, and adaptive responses to such new challenges as climate change. Biodiversity has a fundamental value to humans because we are so dependent on it for our cultural, economic, and environmental well-being. Some argue that it is our moral responsibility to preserve the Earth's incredible diversity for the next generation. Others simply like knowing that nature's great diversity exists, and that the opportunity to utilize it later if need be is secure. Scientists value biodiversity because it offers clues about natural systems that we are still trying to understand. Arguably, the greatest value to humans, however, comes from the ecosystem services it provides. Biodiversity forms the backbone of viable ecosystems on which we depend on for basic necessities, security, and health. By breaking down plant and animal matter, for example, insects and other invertebrates make nutrients available to plants and are integral to the carbon and nitrogen cycles. Other species pollinate crops, an essential service for farmers. Healthy ecosystems can mitigate or prevent flooding, erosion, and other natural disasters. These ecosystem services also play a hand in the functioning of our climate and in both air and water quality. Elements of biodiversity can contribute to cultural identity, and many ecosystem characteristics are frequently incorporated into cultural traditions. For example, in folklore, local animals are used to symbolize societal values or to explain unusual events. Indigenous cultures sometimes recognize biodiversity's value in religious traditions based on honoring the earth. Proximity to nature has also been shown to enhance emotional and spiritual well-being. Following along those lines, many simply believe that there is a great value in the beauty of nature's diversity. Biodiversity has proven to hold enormous value when adapted for use in health, agricultural, or industrial applications. In the field of medicine alone, approximately 50% of current prescription medicines are derived from or modeled on natural substances. The health and diversity of ecosystems can have a significant effect on the overall stability of nearby communities. Now we will move on to the fourth paragraph of the essay. The fourth paragraph of the essay is the answer of paragraph question number 5 from the textbook. So that question is, what are India's biogeographical zones? The answer is, India is a mega diverse country. Biogeographic classification of India is the division of India according to biogeographic characteristics. Biogeography is the study of the distribution of species or biology, organisms and ecosystems in a geographic space and through geographical time. With only 2.4% of the total land area of the world, the non-biological diversity of India contributes 8% to the non-global biological diversity. There are 10 biogeographic zones in India. Number 1. Trans-Himalayan Region. It constitutes 5.6% of the total geographic area, including the high altitude, cold and arid mountain areas of Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, North Sikkim, etc. This zone has a sparse alpine steppe vegetation that harbors several endemic species and is a favorable habitat for the biggest population of wild sheep and goat in the world. The cold, dry desert of this zone represents an extremely fragile ecosystem. Second one, Himalayan zones. It constitutes 6.4% of the total geographical area, including some of the highest peaks in the world. The Himalayan zones makes India one of the richest areas in terms of habitats and species. The alpine and subalpine forests, grassy meadows and a moist mixed deciduous forest provide a diverse habitat for endangered species. Now the third, that is Indian Desert Zone. Indian Desert Zone consisting 6.6% of the total geographical area includes the Thar and the Kutch deserts. It has large expanses of grasslands that supports several endangered species of mammals such as wolf, desert cat, and birds. Now the fourth one, that is Semi-Arid Region. Semi-arid region constituting 16.6% of the total geographical area is a transition zone between the desert and the dense forest of Western Ghats. The peninsula of India has two large regions which are climatically semi-arid. This semi-arid region also has several artificial and natural lakes and marshy lands. The dominant grass and palatable shrub layer in this zone supports the highest wildlife biomass. Now the fifth one, that is Western Ghats, including Maharashtra, Karnataka and Kerala. It constitutes 4.0% of the total geographical area. It is one of the major tropical evergreen forest regions in India and represents one of the two biodiversity hotspots. Western Ghats are home to viable populations of most of the vertebrate species is found in peninsular India, besides an endemic faunal element of its own. Now the sixth one, that is the Deccan Plateau. The Deccan Plateau is India's largest biogeographical region, making 42% of the total geographical area. It is a semi-arid region that falls in the rain shadow area of the Western Ghats. This biogeographic zone of peninsular India is by far the most extensive zone, covering India's finest forests, particularly in the states of Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Odisha. Now the seventh one, that is Gangetic Plane. Gangetic Plane constitutes around 10.8% of the total geographical area. The Gangetic Plane is topographically homogeneous for hundreds of kilometers. The characteristic fauna of this region include rhino, elephant, buffalo, etc. Now the eighth one, that is Northeast Region. The Northeast Region constitutes 5.2% of the total geographical area. This region represents the transition zone between the Indian, Indo-Malayan and Indo-Chinese biogeographical regions, as well as being a meeting point of the Himalayan mountains and peninsular India. The Northeast is the biogeographical gateway for much of India's fauna and flora and also a biodiversity hotspot. Now the ninth one, that is Coastal Region. Coastal region constitutes 2.5% of the total geographical area with sandy beaches, mangroves and mud flats, coral reefs and marine angiosperm pastures make them the wealth and health zones of India. The coastline from Gujarat to Sundarbans is estimated to be 5,423 kilometers long. A total of 25 islets constitutes the Lakshadweep, which have coral origins and have a typical reef lagoon system rich in biodiversity. However, the diversely populated Lakshadweep Islands virtually have no natural vegetation. Now the 10th one, that is Andaman and Nicobar Islands. This constitutes 0.3% of the total geographical area and is one of the three tropical moist evergreen forest zones in India. The islands house an area of flora and fauna not found elsewhere. These islands are centers of high endemism and contains some of India's finest evergreen forests and support a wide diversity of corals. Now we will move on to the concluding paragraph of the essay. Mother Earth is our first teacher. She has informed us that oneness does not equal sameness. She shows us this through the harmonious balance that is held in the rich biodiversity that exists within our world. To achieve oneness, we must transcend our differences and embrace the integration of every individual aspect of humanity into the whole, knowing that all healthy systems are comprised of complexity and an abundance of diversity. Now we will discuss the remaining one paragraph question, that is, what are the advantages of natural forest? The answer is, forests cover nearly a third of all land on Earth, providing vital organic infrastructure for some of the planet's densest, most diverse collections of life. They support countless species, including our own, yet we often seem oblivious of that. Humans now clear millions of areas from natural forests every year, especially in the tropics, letting deforestation threaten some of Earth's most valuable ecosystems. Forests provide a wide range of benefits at local, national and global levels. Nearly half of Earth's non-species live in forests, including 80% of diversity on land. That variety is especially rich in tropical rainforests, where forests that teem with life around the planet. Insects and worms work nutrients into soil. Bees and birds spread pollen and seeds, and keystone species like wolves and big cats keep hungry herbivores in check. Biodiversity is a big deal, both for ecosystems and human economies, and it's increasingly threatened around the world by deforestation. Forests pump out oxygen we need to live and absorb the carbon dioxide we exhale. Some 300 million people live in a forest worldwide, including an estimated 60 million indigenous people whose survival depends almost entirely on native woodlands. Large forests can influence regional weather patterns and can even create their own microclimates. The Amazon rainforest, for example, generates atmospheric conditions that not only promote regular rainfall there and in nearby farmland, but potentially as far away as the Great Plains of North America. Tree roots are key allies in a heavy rain, especially for low-lying areas like river plains. They help the ground absorb more of a flash flood, reducing soil loss and property damage by slowing the flow. Forests are like giant sponges, catching runoff water rather than letting it roll across the surface, but they can't absorb all of it. Water that gets past the roots trickles down into aquifers, replenishing groundwater supplies that are important for drinking, sanitation, and irrigation around the world. Not only do trees produce roots, nuts, seeds, and sap, but they also enable a cornucopia near the forest floor from edible mushrooms, berries, and beetles. In addition to holding the soil in place, forests may also use phytoremediation to clean out certain pollutants. Trees can either sequester the toxins away or degrade them to be less dangerous. This is a helpful skill, letting trees absorb sewage outflows, roadside spills, or contaminated runoff. Now we have finished discussing all the question and answers from the chapter Biodiversity. In the next class, we will discuss a poem written by Sebastian, that is, Real Estate.